From the nation's capital, Monrovia, good evening and welcome to King's Newsman, 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Friday, September 12th, 2025, and I'm Newton, Tokpa presenting stories we follow in this evening. A 32-year-old woman identified as Victoria Taka reportedly tortured to death by a group of young men in Grand Creek County over accusation of her involvement in witchcraft activities. Opposition Congress for Democratic Change National Youth League calls on President Joseph Walker to immediately dismiss Deputy Minister for Youth Development Brian McGill following allegation of rape involving a 14-year-old girl. Criminal Code 8 grants Foley Emery Johnson, the alleged armed robbery defendant at Echo Bank, Liberia, to evaluate his mental capacity before trial. The way from home Burkina Faso says it has removed visa fees for all African travelers in an effort to facilitate the movement of people and goods into the country. These plus the news bulletin, our international developments in our package, but I take a very short break. I'll be right back. Welcome. At this juncture, we cross over to Stephen Compton with the news bulletin.
A 32-year-old woman identified as Victoria Taggart was reportedly tortured to death by a group of young men in Grand Creek County over accusation of involvement in witchcraft activities. According to the Liberia National Police Grand Creek County Detachment, the incident occurred on September 8, 2025, where Taggart's lifeless body was discovered along a highway. The police said they were uttered by Alison Blow, General Town Chief of Yilayuan Town, where it reported that Taggart's unconscious body had been found near the outskirts of the town. Sources from the county told King's FM News that the individual allegedly responsible for the act was initially apprehended by members of the local community watch forum, but later escaped on unclear circumstances, raising suspicions among residents. Police authorities in Barclayville have named the suspects at Abeningo Duet, Boniface Youngard, and Bernard Quad. In response, a police team led by Inspector Brownstone Hen was dispatched to the scene to investigate. The Opposition Congress for Democratic Change National Youth League has called on President Joseph Boakai to immediately dismiss Deputy Minister for Youth Development Brian McGill following allegations of rape involving a 14-year-old girl. On Thursday, Youth and Sports Minister Ko Bangalo confirmed that McGill is allegedly involved in the rape case, which came to light after the victim's father filed a complaint. In a statement issued Friday, the CDC Youth League condemned the alleged act, describing it as a grave violation of Liberia's Children's Law of 2011, the Domestic Violence Act of 2019, and international human rights standards. The group further criticized what it described as a troubling pattern of impunity among the Unity Party-led administration, thus referencing previous allegations, including those made against Internal Affairs Minister Francis Nyamali. The CDC Youth Wing also accused the Federation of Liberian Youth and the Liberia National Students Union for their silence on the matter. According to the group, this lack of response undermined the rights and protection of the victim. Criminal Code 8 at the Temple of Justice has ruled in favor of mental capacity evaluation for Foley Emery Johnson, the alleged armed robbery defendant at Echo Bank, Liberia. It can be recalled defendant the defense lawyer filed a motion arguing that ongoing treatment and medical records indicate serious mental health condition warranted a full evaluation. The motion claims that subjecting the defendant to trial without assessing his mental state could lead to serious issue. Presided over by His Honor Judge Roosevelt Wade, the ruling came during the 28th day judicial sitting of the August 10, following a bit of information submitted by Johnson's lawyer citing the defendant's mental incapacity to stand trial. The Assistant Secretary General of the adjoined Faculty Association at the University of Liberia, Josh Temwe, has threatened legal action against the Secretary General of the University of Liberia Faculty Association, Eric Patton, over alleged defamatory remarks. Patton, during a recent interview on Orchid FM, accused Temwe of acting as a pay agent working on behalf of the university's authority to undermine both OFA and the government of Liberia. Speaking to King's News Friday, Tangwe termed Patton's comment as reckless, baseless, and calculated attempt to tarnish his reputation. He asserted that the accusation are part of an effort to silence his ongoing advocacy for fairness, justice, and improved labor conditions at the University of Liberia. Tembet also refuted Patton's claim that he received 100% of his salary as part-time instructor at the University of Liberia, describing it as false and misleading. He further emphasized that joint faculty members who make up a significant portion of the university's teaching staff continue to face neglect from offered leadership. Tembe at the same time accused the Faculty Association of consistently abandoning adjoined instructors and failing to represent their interest. Tembe is meanwhile demanding a public apology from the OFAD's Secretary General or raise a lawsuit in the coming days. Still with more developments, the National Muslim Council of Liberia has strongly condemned the attack by Israel in Doha, state of Qatar, which claimed the lives of officials of the Palestinian delegation and a Qatari national. On Tuesday, the residential area in Doha was attacked by Israel bombers, resulting in the death of 6 people, including one Qatari. However, addressing an impromptu press conference shortly after a mass meeting of the Council Thursday, September 11, the Secretary General of the National Muslim Council of Liberia, Koko Reeves, said the Muslim community in Liberia stands in solidarity with the government and people of Qatar in their tireless effort to promote peace in the Middle East. According to Reeves, the council described the attack on Qatar by Israel as an act of unprovoked aggravation, accusing Israel of seeking to undermine noble intention aimed at saving lives and advancing peace between Israeli and Palestinians. The council extended its deepest condolences to the bereaved families, the people of Qatar, and all those affected by the tragic incident. The Bishop of the United Methodist Church says he foresees the advantaged youth station a could in the country if nothing is done to address the threat of drug now. Bishop Samuel Choir is therefore encouraging the parents and government not to give up effort aimed at rehabilitating the huge number of disadvantaged youth in the country. Bishop Choir made a disclosure when he made a remarks at the 19th graduation ceremony organized by the New Life Discovery Program in Monrovia recently. Remarking during the program, the coordinator of the New Life Discovery Program, Jefferson Naft, disclosed that a survey conducted with international partners has revealed that 250,000 people are hooked on drugs in Liberia. According to him, over 1,000 youth have died as a result of taking dangerous substances in Liberia in recent time. The Guinean ambassador to Liberia, Abubakar Salah, on Wednesday paid a courtesy call to the headquarters of the National Elections Commission in furtherance of a request made to the Commission for electoral support. NEC Liberia, in a statement after the meeting, said the Guinean request cover 10 ballot boxes and 10 voting polls, which will be used to facilitate a constitutional referendum scheduled for 21 September 2025 for members of the Guinean community residing in Liberia. The discussion were held between the Guinean diplomat and the chairperson of the National Election Commission, Manan David Eta Brown Lassanan. Ambassador Silat was accompanied to NEC headquarters by Abubakar Toure, the vassal in charge of ECOWAS affairs at the Guinean embassy. In a note dated 9 November September 2025 to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Silat explained that the electoral material would enable Guinean citizens in Liberia to participate in the referendum and express their view on the draft constitution developed by the National Transition Council of Guinea. Grand Bassa County Superintendent Caillou Johnson has called on supporters of politicians in the county to avoid political interference in the decision-making process of the county. According to Superintendent Johnson, it has come to his attention that every decision made under his leadership is always politically interpreted on radio and other social media platforms by supporters of famous politicians in the county. Speaking to reporters at his Rabo Street office, Superintendent Johnson, in a strong tone, told supporters of politicians in the county that his administration is running a consultative government and not a gangster government. The Grand Bassa County Superintendent also emphasized that every decision that reaches a conclusion under his leadership is done in consultation with a local team and the leadership of the county. Superintendent Johnson lamented that his administration remains committed to fostering peace and reconciliation despite of the political implication. The officer in charge of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency has urged the citizens of Nima County to take ownership of the fight against illicit drug in the country. Speaking at a community gathering, Deputy Commissioner General Faith Jarrad Biako emphasized that a battle cannot be won by the LDEA alone and requires strong community involvement to protect Liberia's future generation. He added that officers recently linked to the unlawful release of a drug suspect in a county will face the full weight of the law, reaffirming his zero tolerance stance on corruption within the LDEA. In a related development, the officer in charge of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency also issued a warning against drug traffickers and users, noting that no stone will remain unturned in tackling dealers and traffickers. He emphasized that the LDEA is using community network to dismantle drug cartel across the country, noting that similar method was used during the fight against the Ebola epidemic. DC Pete Biako noted that his administration is building a credible LDEA, including drug testing for all LDEA officers nationwide, which started with Monserrato and the Western region. Something he said is in the coming days, the next exercise will affect the Central and Northern regions. Biako further noted that any officer from aiding and abetting drugs activity will be dealt with according to the law of Liberia. And criminal could be Josh Wisa have found defendant Bill Jalad guilty on all accounts of a brutal attack that led to the death of a young woman identified as Princess Zul. The court delivered its trial judgment after hearing testimonies from medical professionals, the prosecution, the defense, and the defendant himself. During the hearing of the trial, a medical witness detailed the gruesome injury on the victim's body, including multiple stabs wounds, measured of 6 stitches in depth, primarily around the head, shoulder, and arm. The wounds, according to medical report, led directly to her death. The defendant, that's Jalad, who took the stand in his own defense, told the court he was unable to recall the full event of the tragic night, claiming trauma and emotional breakdown. The news bulletin is back to you, Newton Toba, for the continuation of the news program.
Stephen, content with the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature here on King's Newsroom. But if you just joining us, a reminder you're listening to King's Newsroom, a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Friday, September 12th, 2025, and I'm Newton Tokpa presenting stories we're following this evening. 32-year-old woman identified as Victoria Tucker reportedly tortured to death by a group of young men in Grand Creek County over accusation of her involvement in witchcraft activities. Opposition Congress for Democratic Change National Youth League calls on President Joseph Walker to immediately dismiss Deputy Minister for Youth Development Brian McGill following allegation of rape involving a 14-year-old girl. Criminal Code 8 grants Fody Emery Johnson the alleged armed robbery defendant at Echo Bank, Liberia, to evaluate his mental capacity before trial. The Away from Home Burkina Faso says it has removed visa fees for all African travelers in an effort to facilitate the movement of people and goods into the country. We'll take another break and we'll come back. We'll bring you the voices of the news. On this one, the Assistant Secretary General of the Adjunct Faculty Association of the University of Liberia, George Tengbe, has threatened legal action against the Secretary General of the University of Liberia Faculty Association, Eric Patton, over alleged defamatory remarks. Patton, during a recent interview on OKFN, accused Tengbe of acting as a paid agent working to undermine both ULFA and the Liberian government. Speaking to King's FM News Friday, Tengbe termed Patton's comment as reckless, baseless, and calculated attempt to damage his reputation. He asserted that the accusation are part of an effort to silence his ongoing advocacy for fairness, justice, and improved labor conditions at the university.
The September 4th, 2025 edition of the OKFM show with Julius J was where Eric Patton, the Secretary General of the University of Liberia Faculty Association, accused me, George Tengbe, of getting bribe from the administration of the University of Liberia, and that also that I am undercutting or contouring the position of offer on their decision to protest. And these are all blatant lies, false accusation. He claimed that I had been paid by the administration, that I was the first person to receive my salary. That is a blatant lie. As we speak now, I'm still behind the administration of the University of Liberia to pay me my 50% salary for the previous semester. as we speak, I'm still advocating for the rest of my colleagues from the adjunct faculty. So, I mean, I don't know where he came from with all of these accusations. It's so baseless. It has, I mean, no iota of truth in it. But I believe they are mere, scare tactics. I mean, the fact that the adjunct faculty decided to stand on their own, independently fight their own fight, and to no longer consider themselves as a foot soldiers for the University of the Faculty Association. I believe that the decision by Mr. Eric Patton to include my membership with the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day into his composition was another act of desperation. It means he has deviated from an academic, platform, discussion, advocacy, to being political, to being socially political in the fact that he will want to attack my person. But we are not afraid of these tactics, so he should either consider a lawsuit against him in a subsequent time. That is just all I would say. If you don't have fights about people, you don't say useless things. Character defamation is a crime. You do not come to public and disregard my heart and character. I remain a fighter for justice. I remain a fighter for fair labor. I remain a fighter for workers, and I remain a person that is willing to stand in the gap to see that every worker in Liberia, whether you're a teacher or contractor, you should have fair benefit in line with the contract that you sign.
He's the Assistant Secretary General of the Adjunct Faculty Association of the University of Liberia, George Tengbe. They're speaking. The Bishop of the United Methodist Church says he foresees disadvantaged youth staging a coup in the country if nothing is done to address the threat of drug abuse. Bishop Samuel Choir is therefore encouraging parents and the government not to give up efforts in rehabilitating the huge number of disadvantaged youth in the country. Bishop Choir made the disclosure where he made remarks at the 19th graduation ceremony organized by the New Life Recovery Program in Monrovia on Wednesday.
We want to encourage all Liberians. Let me refresh our minds again. 2 years ago, I had a dream that really startled me. And in this dream, there was a coup d'etat in Liberia. Another coup d'etat. But guess who was leading the coup? All these are young people we call Zogos. They were the ones who were in the trucks. They had a red beret. And they were going from place to place, rounding up government officials. And they said, you're being sitting out here, talk to those sweet talk. But you ain't doing nothing to help us. So we grab all of you. Then I was hiding somewhere. I took the net office. Then somebody said, oh, but that bishop. I said, yeah. The church people said, they're the one who's supposed to grab Sept. They're the one who's supposed to help to rehabilitate us. So we carried the bishop to, and I woke up that morning and I was trembling. I said, what? We have to do something about these young people in the street. Can you imagine the whole of Monrovia is divided into zones, 4 zones? Did you hear one of the young men, Eddie was naming these zones, and they have the leaders, right? Yes. And every day, every time, most of our politicians are making use of these young people. They're not helping to rehabilitate them. They're using them for their own purpose. But tomorrow, a kid is not taking it will turn around on us, all of us. Imagine when these young people have hands in the air, you know what happened? We got to do something. We have to do something. And the rate at which these young people are getting addicted is not easy. All these young men here, they're supposed to be in institutions. These are our technicians. These are the people who are supposed to be sitting up behind machines, right? Building our roads. But their lives are being wasted on drugs. So what are we waiting for? What are we doing? The time was catch up with us. We have to do something.
Also remarking during the program, the coordinator of the New Life Recovery Program, Jefferson Knight, disclosed that a survey conducted with international partners has revealed that 250,000 people are hooked on drugs in Liberia. According to Knight, over 100 youths have died as a result of taking dangerous substances in Liberia in recent time.
I think about 3 years ago, UNICEF report that there are over 200,000 young men that are hooked on drugs in our country. Narcotics and all the different things, alcohol, 200,000 of them who are depending on it. And how do they get the money to survive? It's through crime, committing crime. Since that time, we have had like 4,000 people coming to the ward of the rehab center. 4,000. While it is true that it's not 100% rosy in terms of success, but how will you rate your success at the New Life Recovery Center? And we can put out 70 because of the feedback that we have gotten. Drug rehabilitation is a serious work, and 4,000 of our young men have gone through our program. And today marks the 13th graduation ceremony, which of course we are very grateful to parents, sponsors, and supporters for standing in the gap and making sure that the kids get the needed support. Liberia has become a significant transit center for illicit substance and narcotic drugs in our country. Law enforcement capacity, porous border control, and proximity to major drug transit routes are contributing to trafficking of this substance to Liberia and through Liberia to the rest of the world. This country, we need to stand up as people, as citizens, to fight this menace because it is destroying the fabric of our country. It is destroying the future generation of our country. We also want to encourage the President Joseph M. Boakai, to work with service providers, the religious community that are involved in drug rehabilitation and other private sector providers, and bring these guys from the street into those rehab centers and support them.
He's the coordinator of the New Life Recovery Program, Jefferson Knight. Earlier, you heard the voice of the Bishop of the United Methodist Church, Reverend Bishop Samuel Choir. The National Muslim Council of Liberia has strongly condemned the attack on Israel in Doha, state of Qatar, which claimed the lives of officials of the Palestinian delegation and Qatari national. On Tuesday, the residential area in Doha was attacked by Israeli bombers, resulting in the death of 60 people, including one Qatari. However, addressing an impromptu press conference shortly after a mass meeting of the Council Thursday, September 11, the Secretary General of the National Muslim Council of Liberia, Kukuri, said the Muslim community in Liberia stands in full solidarity with the government and people of Qatar in their tireless efforts to promote peace in the Middle East region. According to Rees, the Council described the attack on Qatar by Israel as an attempt to unprovoked aggression, accusing Israel of seeking to undermine noble intention aimed at saying that saving lives and advancing peace between Israeli and Palestinians.
The National Muslim Council of Liberia has learned with profound indignation of the calculated barbaric attack on Doha, state of Qatar, which claimed the lives of officials of the Palestinian delegation and the Qatari national. The Council stands in full solidarity with the government and people of Qatar in their tireless effort to promote peace in the region. We vehemently condemn this act of unprovoked aggression, which seeks to undermine noble intentions aimed at saving lives and advancing peace between Israelis and Palestinians. We extend our deepest condolences to the bereaved families, the people of Qatar, and all those affected by this tragic incident. May Allah grant us peace. May Allah give them al-Jannah, those that have died in the cause of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much.
He's the Secretary General of the National Muslim Council of Liberia, Kukuris, speaking. What if you just joining us with the time half past the hour? A reminder, you're listening to King's News, run the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Stories we following this evening. A 32-year-old woman identified as Victoria Tucker reportedly tortured to death by a group of young men in Grand County over accusation of or involvement in industrial activities. Opposition Congress for Democratic Change National Youth League calls on President Joseph Boakai to immediately dismiss Deputy Minister for Youth Development Brian McGill following allegation of rape involving a 14-year-old. Criminal Court gave grants Cody Emmerich Johnson, the alleged armed robbery defendant at Echo Bank, Liberia, to evaluate his mental capacity before trial. Away from whom Burkina Faso says he has removed visa fees for all African travelers in an effort to facilitate the movement of people and goods into the country. We'll take another short break. When we come back, we'll continue with more forces on the program. Grand Bassa County Superintendent Caillou Johnson has called on supporters of politicians in Grand Bassa County to avoid political interference in the decision-making process of the county. According to Superintendent Johnson, it has come to his attention that every decision made under his leadership is always politically interpreted on radios and other social media platforms by supporters of famous politicians in Basel. Speaking to reporters at his Rubber Street office, Superintendent Johnson, in a strong tone, told supporters of politicians in the county that his administration is running a consultative government and not a gasted government.
Without any reference to their leaders camp on the social media, discussing information that was sent to the superintendent office in Akine Nigerian role responsible. We are now running for transport government that you were there until you put waiting here, where you are now having fact that can cause serious chaos and serious conflict. If all look at what the issue in Rwanda, it was from the post of one journalist at Rwanda into serious problem. So when we are putting information in the public, we should be careful because one of the things that my leadership is working on is reconciliation. We hear people posting accountability, but they cannot point to what the major thing that people should account for. But do that on the reverence side, they will say the word. From the do that on the reverence side, I can hear the reverence side. If you have 100,000 people, and maybe 75,000 people think that they can reconcile, or 75,000 persons think that they're going to work together. If I'm having the opportunity, I think all of us need to come together to foster economic growth in our county, development, and have a platform of reconciliation. We cannot be discussing about county of hospitality. The whole day where there is disjointment, people get drunk on the social media without evidence, and they post things that are incorrect.
Grand Bassa County Superintendent Caillou Johnson there speaking. The officer in charge of the Liberal Drug Enforcement Agency has urged citizens of Nimba County to take ownership of the fight against illicit drugs. Speaking at the community gathering, Deputy Commissioner Fizara Biako emphasized that the battle cannot be won by the LDA alone and requires strong community involvement to protect Liberia's future generation.
We will leave no stone untouched. Bonkante, we're hitting Bonkante very tough in incoming aid.
We'll be announcing a reward system for anybody who will get information to LDA that will lead to us arresting male drug trafficker, and busting drug network. We'll be announcing our reward system. You'll be rewarded. We'll also be announcing the whistleblower system, protection of whistleblower. If you get information to us that will lead to us to nothing drug network, we'll pay you handsome reward. My mothers, my fathers, my sisters, my brothers in the room, let's join hands together. Let's fight the issue of drugs. The DA can't do it, the police can't do it. If the police, for DA, for immigration, for AFL, will ban all of us. We don't have the required strength to fight rest. So we want to work with the community. So we have to respond. So I'm happy that the lawmaker talk about Rosemary, who is a veteran officer. You know, I sometimes in your law enforcement career, there are things that can happen. So we'll help with the community, we'll train the community, we'll work with the community response team. We train them how to respond to incidents, how to work with our DA counterpart to respond to incidents, how to establish evidence, how to collect evidence for prosecution.
In a related development, the officer in charge, Biako, has issued a stern warning against drug traffickers and users, noting that no stone will remain unturned in tracking dealers and traffickers. He emphasized that the LDA is using community network to dismantle drug cartels across the country, noting that similar method was used during the fight against the Ebola epidemic. Biako noted that his administration is building a credible LDA, including drugs testing for all DA officers nationwide, which he stated that it started with Monserrato and the Western region.
We will leave no stone untouched. Bonkante, we're hitting Bonkante very tough in incoming aid before even the process has been launched. reaching the communities. We're using the platform of fight Ebola in the country to fight the issue of drugs as an epidemic. So the same system we use to fight Ebola, we have committed team established, community network, giving out information to us. We also got our intelligence network as well, tracking down traffickers and cartel network. We'll dismantle them. It's just a matter of time to go after them with full weight of the law.
Let me take you to the national scene. The issue at DEA, we have seen the president make now two different set of appointments. What difference can you make?
We're building a credible DEA. We're starting with the drug testing for all DEA officers nationwide. We have done it for Monserrato. We went to the western region. Now, in the incoming days, the test team will be in the central and the northern region. We'll do the testing. We want to build a credible DEA that the community will have confidence into the personnel who enforce the law. That we reiterating that you can't be with us and be aiding and abetting the issue of drug trafficking and drug use. So either with us or against us. So we are straight to that. We want to build a system that can fight the issue of drugs cartel and the issue of drug trafficking. So we want to be a credible, reliable, professional, disciplined officer with the DEA that we got to respond to the issue of drug trafficking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
He's the officer in charge of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Fitzgerald Biakude speaking. And away from Liberia, Burkina Faso says it has removed visa fees for all African travelers in an effort to facilitate the movement of people and goods into the country. African visitors will, however, be required to submit an online visa application, which will be reviewed for approval, the minister clarified. The West African nation joins countries such as Ghana, Rwanda, and Kenya, which have eased travel requirements for African citizens of West African countries can already travel to Burkina Faso without the need for visas. However, this may change in the future because the country has pulled out of the regional bloc ECOWAS along with its neighbors, Mali and Niger, which had also on a military route. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a young soldier who seized power in 2022 coup, portrays himself as a champion of Pan-Africanism, while often criticizing the West and colonialism. He is admired in the continent for his charismatic leadership. His popularity has been fueled through social media, including many misleading posts intended to bolster his revolutionary image. On that note, I would like to go home this evening on this edition of King's Newsroom, the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. So just before we go home, let's remind you of stories we've been following. A 32-year-old woman identified as Victoria Taga reportedly tortured to death by a group of young men in Grand Creek County over accusation of her involvement in witchcraft activities. Opposition Congress for Democratic Change National Youth League calls on President Joseph Boakai to immediately dismiss Deputy Minister for Youth Development, Bryant Mangilt, following allegation of rape involving a 14-year-old girl. Criminal Court 8 grants Fode Emily Johnson, the alleged armed robbery defendant at Echo Bank, Liberia, to evaluate his mental capacity before trial. Away from whom Burkina Faso says it has removed visa fees for all African travelers in an effort to facilitate the movement of people and goods into the country. These are stories to follow here this evening on King's Newsroom. Stephen Compton was here with the news bulletin while Melvin Vass sat at controls and coordinated the sounds. We'd like to say many thanks to all of our reporters, correspondents, news editors who helped in making this package a source. This one takes William break to be back Monday with another fresh edition. My name is Newton Tupa. I presented this edition of the program. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye-bye.